They say money can come from anywhere, even from the water dripping beneath an air conditioner. But in the town of Obinetu, that drip became a door no one should have opened. This is the story of a man called Baba Ijeoma, a mysterious buyer of AC water, and the boy who dared to ask why. Before you laugh at the idea of evil in water, listen. And when the dripping starts, don't look back.
Drip, drip, waterfall, secrets hide where spirits call. Easy cash, the heavy price, sell your piece and roll the dice. Drip, drip, waterfall, secrets hide where spirits call. Easy cash, the heavy price, sell your piece and roll the dice, yeah. He buys the water, gives you gold. But what if it is dark and cold? What you call waste, he calls divine. But it will haunt your bloodline. They laugh at first, now silence reigns. The night is still, we don't see chance. One small jug can open gates and feed a thing that hunger waits. Drip, drip, waterfall, Baba's whisper starts to crawl. Take the money, lose your name, trade your breath inside a flame. Drip, drip, waterfall, Baba's whisper starts to crawl. Take the money, lose your name, trade your breath inside a flame.
In the heart of a dusty Nigerian town called Obinetu, a strange rumor was spreading like wildfire. People whispered that Baba Ijeoma, an old man with silver beards and calm eyes, was buying air conditioner water. Yes, the same water that drips from AC units. At first, it sounded like another online joke, but it was real. People were cashing out, and Baba Ijeoma paid big money for it. No matter the quantity you brought, he never priced it down. He smiled, paid in cash, and told you to bring more next time. That was all. Nobody knew where he lived exactly, but every evening you would see his black Hilux parked by the abandoned post office. From there, he operated under a faded green canopy with two big kegs beside him. One was always half full, the other sealed tightly. He wore white native attire and sat calmly, always with a bottle of beside him. The people didn't ask questions. To them, Baba Ijeoma was a blessing. What's their business? He pays well, but not Akpunwa. Akpunwa was the kind of person who always had something to say. Known in the street as the mouth that never sleeps, he was called a nuisance by adults and a small hero by children. His real name was Chukwebuka, but no one used it anymore. He had a habit of sniffing trouble and poking his nose where he didn't belong. The day he first saw someone collecting AC water into a gallon at midnight, he knew something wasn't right. AC water is wastewater, he muttered. What on earth is in it that makes it valuable? Akpunwa began to dig. He asked mechanics, engineers, even his uncle who once fixed generators. They all said the same thing. The water no get use. Still Baba Ijeoma kept buying it. He didn't even check for dirt or smell. Once you came with it, he would smile and bring out new notes, fresh ones. So Akpunwa did what he did best: observe, poke and investigate. He started collecting AC water just to see how the whole thing worked. Surprisingly, it wasn't hard. People were now fixing plastic bottles, containers, and even gallon kegs to their AC units with rubber hoses, letting the water drip in day and night. Someone in town even built a wooden stand to hang 5 jerry cans behind his car. People laughed at first until they saw him getting paid. It didn't take long before young men began abandoning their trades. Barbers left their clippers, vulcanizers stopped patching tires, even some apprentices left their oga's shop and started knocking on doors, offering to manage your AC water for you. The small town of Obinetu began to change. You could no longer hear the clanking of tools or the sound of grinding machines. It was now all about gallons, hoses, and quick cash from condensation. But one thing about Akpunwa, he never liked quick money, even though he didn't have much. He had a principle. If the money they run come too fast, if he run go faster, he will always say to him slow and steady still made sense. He joined the AC water business just to see what it was about. But he wasn't greedy. And deep down, he kept asking the same question: what exactly does Baba Ijeoma do with all this water? He decided to start asking around. One day, as he handed over his 2 gallons to Baba Ijeoma under the green canopy, he noticed another young man behind him, one of the early sellers named Obinetu. "Oh boy," Akpunwa asked him casually, "you know wetin this man they really use this water for?" Obinetu laughed and shrugged. "Na export them say, machine them abroad they use them." Then he leaned closer and whispered, "The truth be say, I don't know. I no even want know. The man they pay well. That one na him matter pass o." That answer didn't sit well with Akpunwa. He kept asking more people, especially the regular suppliers. Everyone gave him the same vague answer: export, special machines, white people matter. But no one could say where, how, and why. It was all just guesswork. Still, people didn't care. As long as Baba Ijeoma kept bringing out clean bundles of cash, they were happy to close their eyes and keep filling their containers. But not Akpunwa. His instincts itched. Something didn't add up. How could wastewater from a cooling unit be this valuable? What was in it? It didn't even have a smell. It was just water. He began to think deeply about all the signs he had ignored, the dreams that started not long after he met Baba Ijeoma, the strange smell of pepper and camphor around the canopy, the woman he saw one night walking backwards from Baba Ijeoma's pickup truck, barefoot, humming a lullaby. Still, Baba Ijeoma remained polite. "My son, the water has a future," he told Akpunwa one evening, eyes twinkling. If only more people understood its value. When Akpunwa joked, "I've been a juju day inside," the man didn't laugh. He just smiled and said, "Some things are deeper than jokes, my boy. Use your eyes, not just your mouth." That reply lingered in Akpunwa's ears for days, and that night, the dreams grew worse. In one, he was at the same green canopy, but this time, he stood on a pile of leaking gallons. Black smoke rose from each one. In another dream, he entered a room filled with dripping AC units hanging like meat in a butcher's stall. And in the center sat Baba Ijeoma, eyes glowing, muttering strange words as water flowed into a bowl shaped like a human skull. Akpunwa woke up in cold sweat, heart racing like someone chased him through the forest. He decided it was time to do what no one else dared: follow Baba Ijeoma. The next evening, he acted normal. He brought water, collected his pay, greeted the man respectfully and walked off. But just around the corner he waited. Soon enough, Baba Ijeoma packed up his canopy and loaded the kegs into the back of his hillocks. Akpunwa quietly tailed him, keeping a good distance and hiding behind parked cars and electric poles. They left the main road and veered into an old bush path behind the disused train tracks. Akpunwa knew that area. It was where children were warned never to play. Thick shrubs lined the path. The sky grew darker and something about the place made the air feel heavier. Baba Ijeoma's vehicle slowed at a red gate covered in faded symbols. He honked once and the gate creaked open by itself. No guard, no dogs, just silence. From a small hole in the wall, Akpunwa peeked inside. What he saw made his heart freeze. There was no house, just an open clearing with flickering black candles, cracked mirrors and chalk drawing on the ground, forming a circle. In the center, a huge silver bowl sat on a stone platform. Baba Ijeoma knelt and began pouring the AC water into it. The moment the first drop touched the bowl, a hum filled the air, soft at first, then louder, almost like voices humming in harmony, but he saw no one. Akpunwa stumbled backward from the wall, hands trembling. What was that bowl? What was Baba Ijeoma humming with? There was no one there, yet the sounds grew stronger, as if unseen mouths were chanting. He didn't wait to find out more. He ran through the bush, past thorns, branches scratching his skin. His slippers tore, but he didn't care. That night, when he finally got home, he couldn't sleep. His body felt heavy and his tongue tasted like iron. At 2:13 a.m., he jolted awake. The walls of his room had turned wet, literally dripping water, though the ceiling wasn't leaking. The air smelled like damp cloth and smoke. When he touched his bedsheet, it was soaked, but his window was shut, his fan off, and there was no AC in his room. He threw the sheet aside and ran out to the compound. All was dry outside. The moon above was unusually large and orange. The next morning, he couldn't eat. He sat on his bench outside, watching the children play, their laughter echoing like a bad memory. Obinna passed with a smile. "Akpunwa, another cake today?" he joked, but Akpunwa didn't respond. His mind was far away. Slowly, he got up and walked to Mazi Tochukwu's house, his childhood friend who always had a way of seeing things others ignored. Tochukwu listened quietly as Akpunwa described what he had seen. He didn't laugh. Instead, he stood up and locked his door. "You see that place?" he asked, voice lowered. "That place is forbidden ground. My grandfather used to say there was once a water priest who disappeared in that area. People say he returned as something else, something that still drinks." Akpunwa felt cold. "Are you saying Baba Ijeoma isn't human?" Tochukwu nodded slowly. They sat in silence. Then Tochukwu said something that made Akpunwa's heart skip. "Have you noticed something? Since this AC water business started, nobody in Obinetu has had a proper burial." It was true. Death has slowed, but when someone did die, their body mysteriously disappeared before burial. Some blamed kidnappers, others blamed wild animals. But now Akpunwa began to see a frightening connection. Was the water being used to feed something? Akpunwa's fear turned into obsession. He stopped selling water completely. Despite the booming demand, he started observing again from afar. He noticed a few sellers who had changed physically. One boy named Emeka, who once limped from an old injury, now walked perfectly, but his left eye had turned grey like smoke. Another supplier, Amara, who was once shy and sickly, now had glowing skin. But she didn't talk anymore. She just smiled, always smiled. Desperate, Akpunwa approached one of them, Chibuzo, a heavy-set man who always supplied up to 10 gallons. "Oga Chibuzo," he asked, "Abeg no vex o. This Baba Ijeoma work. You sure say he clean?" Chibuzo laughed, but his laugh was hollow. "If not blood money, would you still collect the money?" Akpunwa didn't reply. Chibuzo leaned closer. "Some things no be for mouth. Just collect your own and thank your chi." That night, Akpunwa dreamt again, but this time he wasn't declaring. The bowl was there, bubbling. From it rose a headless figure with many hands, each hand holding a dripping AC hose. Behind it stood Baba Ijeoma, eyes black as star, smiling. "You want to see?" the headless figure asked, and then it grabbed Akpunwa by the chest. He woke up screaming, his chest soaked in sweat, his window wide open, though he had locked it. He ran to Fire Rain Chapel the next morning. Pastor Mike, known for his no-nonsense deliverance, saw him and didn't waste time. "You have touched something unclean," the pastor said before he even opened his mouth. "You've carried something that belongs to the sea." Akpunwa knelt in tears. "I didn't know. It was just water." Pastor Mike shook his head. "That's not just water. You've been feeding a spirit, a very old one, and now it's watching you." A 7-day prayer was declared. Akpunwa was told to avoid Baba Ijeoma completely, to stay indoors from 11 p.m. and to burn any jug or keg he ever used. "This is not just juju," Pastor Mike warned. "It's a covenant. The water is a gate. Once opened, something comes through." Akpunwa's skin turned to goosebumps. He thought of all the gallons he has touched, all the nights he had slept beside them, unknowingly hosting spirits in liquid form. By the third day of the fast, Akpunwa began to feel lighter. But that night, the attack came. Around midnight, the air in his room turned ice cold. The bulb flickered, then shattered. His Bible on the table caught fire, burning silently without smoke. He tried to scream, but his voice locked in his throat. From the corner of the room, a black mist formed, and in the center, eyes opened, red, round, unblinking. They watched him. He stumbled out of the house barefoot, only to find the compound gate had vanished. Yes, literally gone. In its place was a wall made of stacked gallons, each one leaking AC water. From the top of the wall, Baba Ijeoma's voice echoed, "You broke the flow, Akpunwa, now you will drown." The wall cracked and water came rushing out. Not ordinary water, but thick, oily liquid filled with teeth and nails. He passed out. In the church the next morning, Pastor Mike anointed his head and chest with oil and said, "They've started fighting back, but we are not afraid. The Lord is our defender." Akpunwa knelt, shaking. Around him, people began to pray in tongues. Some wept. One woman screamed and collapsed. Pastor Mike said, "The water is a medium, a spiritual bloodstream. Anyone who collects it becomes part of the network. That's how they see you, trace you, and enter your dreams." That day, 3 people collapsed in the market and began convulsing. All of them were known AC water suppliers. One of them, Emeka, the boy whose limb has mysteriously vanished, screamed before dying, "Don't let them drink it again." Blood began to pour from his eyes and ears. The police came, but nothing could be explained. The people started whispering, "Is this water business evil?" But only a few were brave enough to stop. That night, Tochukwu, Akpunwa's closest friend, fell sick. He began vomiting what looked like mud mixed with pieces of copper wire. The doctors were confused. Akpunwa cried by his bedside, blaming himself. "This thing is spreading," he whispered. "It's reaching people close to me." Pastor Mike later told him, "This is not just a coven, Akpunwa. It's a feeding system. Every water drop taken strengthens them. You helped build it, now you must help destroy it." But how? Baba Ijeoma was nowhere to be found. His pickup hadn't been seen. Since that night, Akpunwa followed him. His canopy was gone. Even the sellers who used to hang around the post office had scattered like ants. Yet, the water collection continued, now in secret, in silence, in fear. Some people even began to say that Baba Ijeoma was not gone. He had only taken another form. Akpunwa began to dream of the post office. Each night, he saw himself standing beside the bowl, pouring AC water endlessly into it. Each time he tried to stop, his arms moved on their own, refusing his commands. He cried in the dream, begged, screamed, but his body kept working, serving something he couldn't see. One night, the woman with no face returned. This time, she carried a jug and whispered, "You opened the gate. Now close it or the river will rise." He woke up coughing, actual water dripping from his nose and mouth. Panicked, he checked his mattress. It was soaked. His clothes were soaked, yet the room was dry. No rain, no pipe burst, just him and the mystery. He ran back to Pastor Mike, who after praying deeply said, "We need to burn every point of contact, every jug, every hose, every gallon, even the ones that touched yours. Fire must meet water." As spiritual cleansing began, youth from the church were sent to homes that had supplied AC water to Baba Ijeoma. Gallons were brought out. Some people resisted, claiming the water was their daily bread. But once a gallon was set on fire and a swarm of black butterflies burst from it, they changed their minds. Some even knelt and begged for prayers, realizing too late they had been trading something far more dangerous than they knew. But Akpunwa's own gallon, his very first jug, was missing. He remembered tossing it aside in the bush behind his house months ago. It had cracks, so he replaced it. But now Pastor Mike insisted that until that jug is burned, the link remains open. Akpunwa rushed to the bush the next morning. What he found there made him freeze. The jug was still sitting there unmoved, but something was inside it now. Something breathing. That jug sat under the tree, exactly where Akpunwa has tossed it months ago. Only now it breathed. A slow, steady rise and fall, like lungs inhaling and exhaling. His hands shook. He stepped closer, the morning sun suddenly dimming behind clouds. He bent over and looked inside. At first, he saw only black water, but then 2 pale eyes opened from within the liquid, staring up at him. He stumbled back and screamed. He raced back to Fire End Chapel, barely able to speak. Pastor Mike didn't waste time. Gather firewood, he told the prayer team. We must burn the origin. When they reached the bush, they formed a circle, praying violently in tongues. Akpunwa placed the jug in the center. As the flames caught it, the water inside began to scream, not sizzle, scream. The ground shook, birds scattered from trees, and then something dark rose from the jug. A tall, thin figure wrapped in wet shadow. It hovered in the air, faceless, formless. The pastors kept praying, but the figure turned to Akpunwa. You betrayed us, it hissed. We gave you gold for water. You gave us hunger for fire. The sky rumbled and a well of wind scattered the prayer books. Pastor Mike shouted louder, the blood of Jesus, and the creature shrieked. His voice echoed with 1,000 mouths, each crying from inside the tunnel of pain. From the smoke, a face began to form. It was Baba Ijeoma, but twisted. His skin was grey, stretched. His eyes were hollow pits. His teeth were long and dripping. I fed them for years, he groaned. From Lagos to Aba, from Enugu to Obinetu, I built a kingdom beneath your air conditioners. He reached out with a hand made of water and ash. You Akpunwa, you were my favorite. The prayer intensified. Pastor Mike threw anointing oil toward the creature, and he threw word as parts of it turned to steam. You are done, the pastor declared. This town belongs to the Lord. The spirit began to break apart, piece by piece, like glass under pressure. A crack echoed through the air, then another, until finally the figure exploded into mist, leaving behind nothing but silence and the shattered pieces of the cursed jug. Akpunwa collapsed in tears. His chest felt light. For the first time in months, he could breathe properly. No shadows, no whispers, no dreams. The sun pierced the sky again, bright and hot. Obinetu was quiet. The birds returned. The air smelled of burnt leaves. An ending. Pastor Mike put a hand on his shoulder and said, "It is finished." But Akpunwa knew better. Evil never dies. It only sleeps. That night, news spread that all the AC water sellers had suddenly fallen ill. Some began vomiting blood, others lost their memories. A few disappeared altogether. Obinna, the loudest of them, was found muttering to himself under a bridge, clutching a gallon and saying, "Ijeoma is hungry. Ijeoma is cold." The town council banned the collection of AC water entirely. Nobody questioned it. The people of Obinetu slowly returned to normal life. The markets opened. The workshops restarted. The youths who abandoned their trades returned, quieter, more humble. But something had changed. A fear now lived in the air. Nobody joked about juju anymore. And everyone now understood, not all money is meant to be touched. Akpunwa became a quiet man. He started repairing bicycles again, the same job he used to hate. He told no one the full story. Sometimes children would pass by and ask, "Uncle, na true say you fight spirit?" He would only smile and say, "I just pour water away." The truth was too heavy for small ears. He stopped dreaming, but sometimes when rain fell and the ACs in the neighborhood dripped loudly, he would lie awake, listening to the sound of the water, each drop a memory, each splash a warning. The fear was gone, but the awareness remained. One afternoon, as he swept his compound, he saw something under a tree. It was a small plastic bottle filled with clear water. Tied to it was a note. "A gift for your silence." He looked around. No one in sight. He picked it up slowly, carried it inside and placed it beside his kerosene stove. Then he poured it out. That evening, someone knocked on his door. A child, dirty, barefoot. "Uncle, Baba Ijeoma say I should give you this." It was a roll of fresh 1,000 notes tied in black ribbon. Akpunwa didn't take it. He looked the boy dead in the eye and said, "Tell Baba Ijeoma I am not hungry. Not anymore." The boy stood still for a moment, then smiled oddly. "Okay, he said I should greet you," he replied. Then he turned and walked away, but his feet left no footprints in the dust. That night, the neighborhood's electricity went off. All the AC stopped, but Akpunwa didn't sweat. His peace came not from the cold air, but from freedom. Weeks passed, then months. Akpunwa began to write his story in a small brown notebook. He said it was for his future children. He wanted them to know that sometimes what looks like waste may be treasure, but sometimes what looks like treasure is a trap, especially when the treasure is dripping from something meant to cool the air, not feed the spirit. And so, the tale of Baba Ijeoma and the AC water slowly faded into whisper and legend. But every now and then, someone in another town would say, "Do you know there's a man buying AC water at high prices?" And if Akpunwa ever heard it, he would close his eyes and mutter, "Tell them, don't sell your soul in gallons." Obinetu is quiet now. The AC still drip, but no one dares bottle the water. Baba Ijeoma is gone, or so they believe. But in every town, there's always someone offering quick money for something worthless. If you ever see a man under a green canopy offering crisp cash for what others throw away, ask yourself one question: what's he really buying? And more importantly, what are you selling?